The title of this presentation is Breaking Barriers, ADA Accessibility and Intersectional Justice. Hi, everyone, and thank you so much for joining this very important conversation. Today, we are going to talk about ADA accessibility. We're going to talk about intersectionality and how policies often fall short for people of color with disabilities. We'll explore how race, gender, any class collide in the lives of Black, Indigenous, and other people of color, shaping not just experiences with accessibility, but also with healthcare, housing, education, and justice. The Americans with Disabilities Act was a monumental step forward. But like with many policies, it wasn't designed with intersectionality in mind, which leaves the question, what does accessibility even look like when it's truly equitable and inclusive for everyone? So let me chime in and let you all know a little about the ADA. The ADA was signed into law in 1990. It prohibits discrimination against people with disabilities in areas like employment, transportation, public accommodation, and also government services. But here's the thing. The ADA is often implemented in a one size fits all approach, and we can't do that. It's a problem. It doesn't always consider cultural differences, systemic racism, or even the compounding effects of poverty and historical oppression. That lead us to intersectionality, a very important term coined by scholar Kimberly Crenshaw. Intersectionality helps us understand how different identities like race, disability, gender, and class, how all of these various identities interact to create unique experiences of discrimination or even privilege. When we ignore intersectionality and accessibility, we risk leaving people behind. That's why we need to move from basic compliance to more of a equity-based design and policy making. Next, we're going to chat about barriers, some barriers that people with disabilities, especially people of color with disabilities, face on a daily basis, starting with healthcare disparities. Black and brown people with disabilities are more likely to be misdiagnosed, undertreated, or not even believed when they seek care. Then we have educational inequities. You have Black and Hispanic students with disabilities who are overrepresented in special education, yet they often receive fewer resources and discipline harsher than normal students, quote unquote. Employment and economic systems also become barriers for people with disabilities because people with disabilities, especially people of color with disabilities, often face higher rates of unemployment and also receive lower wages. There also exists environment and public services barriers. So when thinking of this, you have to consider public transportation in low income neighborhoods, which is often inaccessible or non existent. There are some legal and institutional discrimination that people with disabilities face. The systematic discriminations that they face lies in the criminal justice system, which disproportionately targets the BIPOC community, especially those with mental illnesses or developmental disability. In my mind, when I think of what equity centered accessibility looks like, I use a culturally sensitive approach. I also consider various forms of communication as well. And knowing this, the ADA should definitely be translated into multiple languages using plain and accessible language. Community driven accessibility audits should happen, and we should bring in disabled people of color to the table, not as tokens, but as leaders and as experts of their own lives. We must advocate for stronger enforcement mechanisms that address racial and disability discrimination together. And to further extend on that approach, it should include a multitude of identities by engaging with intersectionality, funding equity, and what that looks like. I envision allocating more public funding to disability services, especially in underserved neighborhoods. There should be education and training as well to train professionals in anti racism and trauma informed and disability justice. And I want to end with this note. In conclusion, the ADA was created to break down barriers, but it's not enough to break barriers that only some people face. Equity means recognizing that different people face different challenges. As we move forward, we must ask who's being left behind? Who has been fighting for access all along, but are never heard? And how do we build systems that don't just include us, but center us? Disability justice is racial justice. Not only is it racial justice, but it's justice for all. Accessibility is not a checklist. It's a commitment to dignity, to belonging, and liberation. We gotta keep pushing for an ADA that reflects all of us, not just in policy, but in practice. Thank you.